All right, so when we talked about having some fun, I couldn't possibly have imagined that we were going to be able to be part of the Labor Lounge podcast. So let me tell you what you are welcome and invited to be a part of right now. Welcome to the Labor Lounge live at the 11th Annual Women Business Leaders Forum. Today's session is hosted by Anthony Abrantes of Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, Cindy Williams of Carpenter Contractor Trust, and Carrie Baylog and Lauren Seaman of Brand Groupies. Together, they're going to share what it really takes to launch a successful podcast and the powerful benefits it brings for brand visibility, brand development, and executive thought leadership. From spotlighting visionary leaders to creating ripple effects across social media, podcasting, as we all know, has become one of the most effective modern PR tools. Our hosts are going to take us behind the mic, drawing on their experiences with the Labor Lounge podcast and beyond to show how this medium amplifies voices, builds networks, and sparks conversations that last well past the episode. Please help me in giving them a warm welcome. Welcome to the Labor Lounge.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, NJBIA, for having us and hosting us here this morning. My name is Cindy Williams. I'm the Executive Director of the Carpenter Contractor Trust and co-host of the Labor Lounge. So thanks for having us today. I'm excited to welcome you to the special live podcast, our very first live podcast here at WBLF, and we're here at the Business Leaders Forum for Women. So thank you again for attending, listening in. I'm joined today by my co-host, Anthony Abrantes, from the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. We're here to broadcast the powerhouse producers behind our podcast, Carrie Baylog and Lauren Sleeman. Lauren newly got married, so I have to get used to that last name. Carrie and Lauren lead Brand Groupies, a women-owned strategic communications agency serving the built industry. For over a decade, they've partnered with national brands in architecture, design, and real estate. They use social media, PR, and podcasting to spotlight visionary executives and drive business growth. Together, we're going to pull back the curtain on what it really takes to launch a podcast and why it's become such a powerful tool for elevating voices, growing networks, and driving business growth. So thank you again.
Thank you, Cindy. And if I've learned anything from Brand Groupies, it's about promoting your brand. And what I'd say for anyone that's in this room that hasn't heard the Labor Lounge podcast, so we have two great guests that are going to be coming up starting next month. We have Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey. We have the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, Austin Davis. And we obviously had some great folks here live for the first time that we've ever done. So we're looking forward to that. So if you haven't heard from us, we're on Apple Music, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, and feel free to subscribe.
Yeah, we'd love to join you as listeners to podcasts in general. Just in my reflection, really quick, I commute to work, so I spend a lot of car hours in drive time, and listen to news, listen to stories, listen to things that I never thought I'd be interested in listening to just by way of being bored. So we're here today, and the original OG podcaster, Carrie Baylog, it started Brand Groupies back in 2018. And back in the early days, nobody knew what a podcast was even just a couple of years ago. So what got you started?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've always been so passionate about our clients and brands, hence the name Brand Groupies. And when I decided to launch the Brand Groupies podcast in early 2018, it was really about the guests, spotlighting the people behind the brands. I was so excited to tell their stories, also give a platform for our current clients to share their stories. And what started to happen was people would say, hey, I listened to that episode, and someone else would say, oh yeah, I loved when you talked about, X, Y, and Z. And I was so surprised at how, Brand Groupies became almost, more buzzed about as much as the clients, and people were sharing it not only on their personal social channels, but the company channels, the company website, the company newsletters, and it was, really getting out there.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was actually living outside the city and commuting to work each day, and I wasn't working with Carrie yet at the time. And I was on the Brand Groupies newsletter list, and I used to really look forward to each of the episodes dropping. I would listen to them, similar to my commute on the subway. And I just thought from afar, the perception was she was killing it. She was everywhere.
And then, of course, we said this is a perfect service to offer our clients to get the, executives out there, increase their visibility and really help support the business development for our, companies and brands we worked with.
And our podcasting clients saw the same benefits that Carrie had seen for brand groupies. Carrie and I were both trained working with global fashion brands like Hermes and Gucci for about 2 decades each. We worked with those types of brands. And we did PR. And PR has changed so much these days, and we see podcasting as really a modern day of PR. And what we've found is that today, marketing executives really need to have a podcast in order to increase their visibility. It's an authentic way to spotlight your leaders and to have them expose the stories of other leaders in the industry. And after working with our clients for several seasons of a podcast, all of the podcasts we manage are then ranked in the top 5 to 10% globally.
And Cindy, since we're both new to this, I think it'd be helpful to tell the audience, at what point did you realize you wanted to work with brand groupies and why we wanted to be in the podcasting business?
Yeah, so it's funny, 6 degrees of separation, worlds collide. Carrie and I know each other through another mutual friend back home, and we were working out as gym rats together, right? We were, we saw each other from across a crowded room and would laugh about how hard that workout was, right? And so came a time where I was at Professional Women in Construction, and I had an opportunity to be at the podium speaking for their award ceremony in Jersey City a couple of years ago. And there I see Carrie in the back of the room. And, I know her as fashion brand. We've been connected over the years just through knowing through other circles. And I just found myself questioning, what are you doing here? And so I didn't realize that she flipped her space and was able to come into the construction industry. And we both agreed that construction is a dinosaur, when it comes to some of this brand recognition. How do we get out there to markets that we don't serve already? And so, we just started a conversation, and ironically at the time, I had been listening to podcasts a lot and said, I'd love to get our message out there for union values out there on, broadcast to people that don't necessarily know about us and understand the nuances of how we plug and play in communities. So it really was just a food for thought at the time, and I was really excited and surprised, but that's really how I began this conversation.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was in the audience too with Carrie that day, and I didn't know Cindy. We weren't connected other than through Carrie, and I was blown away. And at this point, we manage so many podcasts for all different sectors and different executives, and so we kind of have a sixth sense to know what to look for in a podcast host. And as soon as I saw her speaking, she was so engaging. We were like, we need to work with her.
She blew us away.
She's the best.
It was awesome. So I'm going to ask Anthony, what were your biggest hesitations to launching a podcast?
I guess really for both me and Cindy, we have crazy schedules. We have jobs that actually pay. We travel and cover 6 different states. So fitting this into our schedule was obviously on the table. What's the cost associated with it? Where are we going to be filming? All the things that could be burdensome to your schedule and calendar had to be accounted for. And when we went with brand groupies, obviously on the front end, we had to do some legwork to make it all come together. But I tell you now, when we're coordinating like who our guests are going to be and what dates we're going to be, picking, at the end of the day, I feel like an actor going to the movie studio, putting on some makeup and reading a script, and then we just get on stage.
That's it.
And when we mess up, we just recut the film. That's all.
Yes.
So it's been a blessing in disguise for us because we can actually, and this is something that's really important to us, and you guys talk about brand, the construction industry has been antiquated in their messaging, what they do, how they're an economic driver, what we do for workforce development, what we do for our employers. And we use this as a vehicle to get our own message out, control the narrative. And as business owners, you want to tell your own story. You want to control your own narrative. That's why we saw the value in podcasts. And just so you guys know, the first podcast I ever listened to was our own, because I didn't listen to podcasts. So, but now I'm into them. It's been a great experience, and we have great folks that we've been working with. So thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yes, our pleasure.
That's really always our goal,
Yes,
right? Is to
yes.
make it we call it an easy lift. All of the people we work with are busy executives, and we want them to be able to stick to doing their day job while we could take the heavy lifting off their plate. I think sometimes the perception is everybody has a podcast. All I need is a mic and my laptop, and I can start a podcast. But in order to do it and reap the benefits that we're discussing, you do need to have a team who knows what they're doing behind the scenes. And I think there's so much more to it than you might think, from naming the podcast and scheduling the guests, having the right equipment, and then really knowing what to do with it after you turn off the mic. That, I think, is a big key to our success for our clients' podcasts. So we try to make it easy so that, just like Cindy and Anthony said, they can show up for 2 hours every other month to our office. We have a whole branded set for them, and they record 2 episodes in a row, and we develop the scripts and try to make it as easy as possible for them. And the ROI has been, incredible for the brands that we've been able to work with.
Yes, and I think it's, as Lauren said, it's all about consistency. 75% of podcasts don't make it past the first 6 months. So it's that consistency, it's the momentum game, and the huge part of it is the social media amplification, right? So you have video clips, you have co-promotions with the the guest and their companies. You have timeless quality content that we can, of course, hand over to your existing marketing and social media teams, and it's an incredible life cycle.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part, is we aren't there to kind of take over for your marketing team. This is an easy add-on service that any marketing team can add into their current strategy and program. The content that we create can then also live on your website. It can live on be pushed out into a newsletter on a monthly basis. We've also had clients do the podcast as LinkedIn Lives, which is another interesting way to connect with people in the industry. And the ripple effect, I think, that we've seen for many of our clients is, once they engage with this guest that maybe they didn't have a relationship with previously, they are often then walk off, the set, and they want to do business together. They want to introduce them to someone that they know that might be able to help their business grow. Perhaps they even invite them to be a speaker at an event like this because they've seen how they speak in a forum. And so the ripple effect, I think, is something that really has been surprising for a lot of our clients, and almost like wow, I didn't expect that would happen.
Yes. And did you mention the dirty little secret?
The dirty little secret about hosting a podcast is no one ever says no. Everybody loves to come on and talk about their story and share how they got started. And you have this instant bond with your guest. Even if you've known your guest for a decade or two, if they're on your podcast, all of a sudden your relationship got leveled up in a whole new way, because you shared your platform with them and you took a real genuine interest in what they do. And so we've seen from, maybe it's even, inviting someone on that you'd love to do business with in the next, year, 5 years, 10 years, by really casually inviting them to be a guest, it automatically levels up that relationship.
Yes.
Wow,
totally.
that's such an incredible point, which I didn't think about, is there's so many opportunities to bring people on, and we have to really weed through who we can say yes to. However, everyone that's been on, I do feel deeply connected to them in some sort of way, even if we don't know each other all that well.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. It's created conversations that I never thought would come my way, just by way of people listening.
Yeah, and it's such an intimate space and setting. That's incredible. So Anthony and Cindy, how has the experience been for each of you?
Yeah, so for me, as you mentioned, it really is, they do such a wonderful job of plugging play. Anthony and I just show up, we may have a lunch afterward, but we come in hot because we're usually running from somewhere prior to, and we come in, sit down, we get centered, and we record 2 sessions. And Brand Groupies has done everything from lifting all of the social, creating the content, helping us with script. They did a whole workover on what we wanted to accomplish in our mission, and sort of they give us the plate and we eat from it, right? So it's been wonderful and easy. So that's really all I'll say, is just, a powerful brand that you've created for us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for us, it's been extremely seamless, where it was like plug and play right into our schedule. We literally go to the studio. We were in Red Bank. Now we're in Tinton Falls, right? And we normally record 2 episodes at a time, 30-minute episodes. It flies by when you're super engaged with some of the guests on their show. And to your point, we've learned so many things. We've known these people for 20, 30 years. We've learned things about them that we didn't know just by sitting together and giving them the ability to talk about their life and what they've gone through. So it's really built camaraderie and rapport. And I would say for us, to Cindy's point, it's a matter of like we show up, they have coffee for us, they have water for us, they give us the script in hand, we sit in our seat, we have our branded background and material, and we get things done. And the one thing I have realized, and when I say like we use this for third-party validation, since we're able to pick the guests, we make sure we pick the guests that understand the industry, that can help benefit the industry, can benefit the cause. And we're not necessarily looking to appeal to people from within our organization. We want to talk to people outside of our organization that don't necessarily understand what we do. And when I tell you we've gotten so much feedback from what we've done from outsiders, which is exactly what we wanted, couldn't make a better investment. And I love it, I enjoy it, and we are in great company.
Thank you.
So this question's for the group. What advice would you give someone in the audience who's considering starting a podcast?
So I think in addition to the podcast, just think of it as a content machine. It really supports all of your, internal and external marketing initiatives and efforts, and it just has such a long life cycle.
Yeah, and there's such an education piece to it too. I think for your company, it helps you become much more known for the right thing. So many of these companies are decades-old brands, and maybe the services have shifted, or for Anthony and Cindy specifically, of course, they were wanting to dispel, maybe some myths or, misconceptions in a really surprising way, such a modern way to tell a story. I think the other thing to think about is that it is a commitment. So you can't, not really do a podcast for 3 months. The momentum builds by launching episodes monthly or even more often than that. And so you want to be committed to it long term and really think about it at least a year minimum.
Great.
And then have fun.
Have fun. It is fun.
And this one's off
It is
script
fun.
because I think the audience should know.
Yeah.
Relative to like other podcasts, like Brand Groupies that are formulating podcasts for people, because I don't really know the industry, how do you guys compare to them? Like the podcasts you guys are recording, how are they performing? Because I know we're performing pretty well, and it's just me and Cindy.
Sure. And it takes time. One of our podcasts is celebrating 5 years coming up, and they're in the 5% globally of all podcasts. And it's really your target audience too. Like you don't have to be a celebrity. It's really if you're known in your industry. One of ours is called The Anti-Architect, and every single architect knows this podcast and talks about it. And the host, every room he walks into, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're the Anti-Architect." And I've listened to your episode. So people are really surprised by, really the engagement and just the ripple effect. Yeah.
Great. At this point, I'd love to open it up to the audience, maybe some questions that we can field on the fly here. So I'd love to entertain questions for anyone in the audience. We'll wait for a mic to get passed, I guess, if there is one. Here comes, Danielle's coming with a mic. Just give it 1 sec.
Thank you very much. My question for you is, what sort of a minimum investment to pull off the great commitment you just discussed would you consider, to be a ballpark figure for anyone who wants to launch?
Sure. I think we do year contracts and monthly retainers. It also depends on if there's the social, add-on, if there's YouTube. So there's, things to that, I would say.
Yeah, there's some different variables, but
Yes.
we could certainly have a conversation afterwards,
Yeah.
offline. It just depends how many episodes you're launching a month too. You want to do at least one a month, but that might be 6 recording dates a year. Or you could do it even more frequently than that, depending on your time availability.
And I'll say this without saying any numbers. Relative to what the Carpenters Union spends in advertising through other sources, this is well worth the minimal investment based on the return that we're getting, since we can control the narrative,
Right.
and you have endless content that goes on forever versus just putting something on social media, doing TV advertising, radio advertising. We control this, and it's significantly cheaper than any other investments we made in advertising, so it's well worth the investment.
Sure. And just to add to that point, the Carpenter Contractor Trust is sort of the marketing arm that works on behalf of the carpenters union as well as our contractor base. So that said, this content that's created, we're able to cut up, share, use in many, many different spaces and places, and it's been wonderful add-on for us in the marketing space.
Yeah, it's funny. Carrie and I were in the car driving up this morning, and I said to her, the podcast that we've managed for 5 years, The Anti-Architect, I said, you know, I was with Christian, the host, the other day, recording some episodes, and I was like, he shares so many interesting leadership tips and different nuggets during his episodes with his guests. Maybe we could create sort of like a little mini series on social, because we manage his social, and pulse out some of those tips in a new creative way. So I was even 5 years in thinking about how we can repurpose some of the content in a new and novel way apart from the podcast.
Exactly.
Any other questions?
Good morning. My question is about content. And so I think one of the concerns I would have in launching a podcast is, can I keep the content fresh and keep it going to kind of meet those minimums you guys have been talking about? So who does create the content? Are you helping with ideas, or are the carpenters coming to you with those same ideas? How does that work?
Sure. Well, whenever we kick off a podcast, we do a brand discovery session, so we really dive deep and nail down the brand pillars. So we follow very concise messaging. And also, coming from, global PR backgrounds, we also are very particular on what timestamps we choose to, go with those video clips. And we, have 3 eyes looking at it. We really make sure that what's going out there is on brand at all times. It's timeless, and we're like the gatekeepers in that respect. And a lot of it is timeless. We've been using clips for some clients. I think we're in year 3 with some.
We have, and I think
Yeah.
the other thing to note is we're trained in PR professionally in our previous lives,
Yeah.
and while we still offer PR to some of our clients, we also do social. So we cut the episodes and we hand social clips over to your social team. If you have one, that's what we do for Anthony and Cindy, and then they layer those clips each month into their existing social strategy. We do also manage social for some of our clients, and we get really creative. We love to get creative with the episodes so that things don't get tired. So we had a Gen Z expert speaking on one of our podcasts that was more in the built world industry, but by 2030, 30% of the workforce is going to be Gen Z. So we thought it'd be really interesting for this firm owner to interview this guy who's written 7 books. He's actually a Rutgers professor about Gen Z and how to work with them. And so that was a bit of a surprise and delight. We've done project episodes where we bring a bunch of teams together to do a co-branded episode. And because of our PR backgrounds, we're also like private investigators. So even if you don't have a relationship with a wish list guest, we can almost always get to them. And that's really our fashion PR backgrounds, I think, informing us.
And I think one thing to know in terms of like picking your guests, you have to be really strategic on who you want on and what that purpose serves. And we work hand in hand to build out the questions, the content for those guests so that they're comfortable in advance knowing what to expect when they come in. So there are no surprises unless the guest brings a surprise. But they always know what the questions are going to be. They always get to pre-vet them. And so far it's been extremely beneficial to what our mission was when we built out this from the beginning.
For sure.
And sometimes we'll do a fun signature question too, depending on, again, your goals ultimately, but we might throw like a signature question into every single episode, and then we'll cut all those funny replies into some short video clips too and intersperse them in.
Yes.
So we really customize every single podcast we work with so that it feels right for you and your brand.
Yes. And also we share a cheat sheet of, example posts to the guest social teams, and we share the assets with them. So we really make sure that co-promotion has just, gone as far as it can.
Possible, yeah.
There's one more question here we'll take in the back.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Gail Rottenstreich from Zago Manufacturing Company. So my question is, if you have a small company like ours, 35 people, and don't have the bandwidth to start a podcast, how do you take advantage of the existence of podcasts to elevate your company and your brand?
That's funny you say that. So I run our PR and podcasting division, and one service we started offering on the PR side is we created something called a podcast media tour. And so what we'll do is we'll take leaders from different companies and have them be guests on other people's podcasts. So it's a much lighter lift than having a podcast of your own. And you also get so much great content. You also get exposed to other people's networks by landing on their platforms. And then you could still co-promote it in the same way. This is something we've customized over the last 5 or 6 years, and we have a broad network of podcast hosts, and that is a service that we've seen great value to achieve similar effects if you don't think that you're ready to host a podcast.
That's a
Great
great point.
question. That
is.
Lauren, that's a great point. In kind, Anthony and I have been invited to be on so many others' podcasts. It's really just opened the doors wide open for us and being able to get out there and network with others. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, just want to thank the both of you for taking us on as clients, and really appreciate being able to share the story with the masses here today, because I think it's so very important to consider this as an option for your company. So thanks.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
opportunity.
You're amazing
To our
partners.
dream partners.
Thanks.
You.
Thanks. Wrap.